Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Doing the Friday dance. What? Yeah, so I love it. I'm Tosca DiMatteo, founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and I'm here with my esteemed colleague and co-host, Margot Schulman. And believe it or not, this is actually our third Friday in a row where we've done this Seeking Utopia series. So thank you to those who are returning and welcome to those who are new to our crazy, I'm calling it a show. You know what I mean? Like I feel weird, but at the same time, it is a show, a radio, it is a podcast, it is a coaching session, it's a rant. What else can we call it?
A celebration. Today it's a celebration.
A celebration. Yes. Margo, kick us off. First of all, share a little bit about who you are for those watching for the first time and talk about celebration. Yeah. Bring us in.
Okay. I'm going to attempt to not sing the celebration song because nobody will celebrate that.
I want the celebration song.
I'll dance to it, but I won't sing to it. Yeah. Hi. We're so celebratory already. My name's Margot Schulman, and I am a relationship and love coach. And we've been talking about, different aspects of how to live your best life, how to follow your dreams, how to go, not just follow your dreams, really how to go after your biggest dreams, whether that's in your career or in making a difference in the world as an activist or in your personal romantic relationships and family relationships and all of the obstacles, that can get in the way, not just external obstacles, but really internal obstacles that we have, and real concrete tools to help, that have helped us get through obstacles and helped clients and can help you, people watching and listening, get through those internal obstacles. And it's been an interesting time, right, Tosca, to talk about this stuff with everything going on in our world, outside of ourselves. It's crazy time. And you and I, we've been talking about what did we want to dive into this week. And the idea of celebration and joy came through as this really important topic to dive into. It's really common. I think both of us have had in our lives trouble, difficulty allowing ourselves to celebrate or allowing ourselves to find joy in the midst of craziness, right? Whether it's global pandemic or crazy politics or whatever's going on in our personal lives. Right. But it's so important to find those moments and to allow ourselves to have them. And so you and I, we were just talking before we got on about how these, we can do little things, right? It doesn't have to be like, okay, I'm going to quit work for the day, take the whole day off and just, party all day. It doesn't have to be that, right? It can be, it's funny. We both did this today. Like I put on this head wrap, this morning because it's from my great aunt Ethel, who passed away a few years ago. But whenever I put it on, I think of her because she was someone that was always up for a party, was always looking for the joy, looking for a reason to celebrate, no matter what was going on in her often very difficult life. And so just putting that on my head, that simple thing, reminded me to, it's Friday. That's a reason to celebrate. It's raining outside. That's a reason to celebrate. Whatever it is, she, through this head wrap helped me remember. And I know something similar happened for you this morning, right?
Yeah, I think for me, celebrating myself is can often be adorning myself with what makes me feel good. And it's kind of like, it also helps me, with my confidence from the outside in and the inside out, right? Because I'm always working on the inside out, clearly. But like I wanted to put my rings on today, and I wanted to put my like badass choker on today because I just want to celebrate me and celebrate, it's Friday, and just bring all my power, to the table. And in a way that is like, we may not think about those things as celebrating ourselves, whether it's you getting your nails done, whether it's a pedicure, whether it's, kind of self-care and celebration can kind of go hand in hand, I think. And I think the idea of acknowledging it in the moment, right, is what I think is really powerful, to say, oh, I'm celebrating that I get to work with Margot today and share with the world why celebration is a pathway to achieving our biggest dreams. And honoring that, I think, is part of celebrating well, if I can use that, celebrate well. So yeah, I think, just to kind of piggyback off, right? I live in Brooklyn, and there was clearly a lot of community celebrating going on with, clearly the election results. And I just realized, oh my God, like, when was the last time that we've been able to like collectively celebrate? And it was this beautiful thing, for those who, clearly felt like things worked out, which I'm certainly one of those people. But I think that the same goes in terms of teams. Like, how often are we celebrating in our teams? Because some of these biggest dreams, they can be our personal dreams. They can be the dreams that our team has, and I remember distinctly joining a team that worked really, really hard. And it was like, they had a great reputation in the organization. And I immediately saw that they just were grinding, but they weren't doing a lot of celebrating. And what's interesting, it was an all-female team. And literally within the first 2 weeks, I decided to put on what I call the Vino clock, to just celebrate like this team and the hard work and all this stuff, because it's like, it was like this missing piece, of man, it's great you're doing all this. Are you enjoying it? Are you celebrating? And I think that really, made a difference, almost, to say, oh, we have permission to celebrate. And we actually don't need something specific either. We can just celebrate because we're on this planet, and we're alive, and we're here,
So I'm curious, like, do you have a regular celebration practice, or how does celebration show up for you as a practice, or like a weekly thing, or a daily thing, or anything like that?
Oh man, I feel like, especially, as an entrepreneur and launching, this business, I really try to give myself permission to celebrate as many of the wins as I can. Like I have an intern starting on Monday, and it's through a program called Futures and Options, and it helps, I don't know what the word, like kind of underrepresented, like underprivileged high school students in the school system. And it's subsidized. Like, I actually don't even have to pay for this intern. That is that's something to celebrate, like, wow, I get to, and on top of it, this is her first internship experience. So I get to also shape and mold and be a part of this young woman's life and her very first work experience. So that, to me, is something I want to celebrate. Maybe it's not a typical thing that somebody would celebrate, but I'm excited. I'm excited for her. I want to celebrate her too, and her courage to, do this work with me. So yeah, I mean, getting back to your question, I think that it's how I sustain myself, because there is no like weekly check to like be like, oh, it's Friday payday. No, it's not. And I don't have like, you know, a boss that like tells me every once in a while, you're doing an awesome job. You know, I have to do that for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And I think that's actually that's how we unhook from praise and criticism too, because I think that's a really big topic, especially for clients within the corporate world. We become accustomed to, and we become reliant on, and we value that more than us celebrating ourselves. And what if it mattered less when we got praise? We wouldn't be seeking it so hard. You know, what if we really were honored more the praise that we gave ourselves? How could that sustain us? You know, even in an even more positive, bigger, better, and more frequent way. Anyway, I totally went on a rant there, but that's how I feel about celebrating.
Yeah. Well, it's such a good point too, what you said. I mean, people, you know, so many people I think who aren't entrepreneurs, they think, oh, it's so easy, right? You don't have a boss. You don't have someone to be accountable to, and all of that is true. And there's all these things like you're touching on that we don't really realize that we get from having that structure of a boss and being accountable to someone. And of course, we've all had terrible bosses that, you know, aren't good for our self-esteem and don't make us feel good about the work that we do. But yeah, when you're on your own, like you said, you have to celebrate yourself. You have to encourage yourself and say, yeah, good job. You're doing a good job. I mean, even like monthly reports, right? Like performance reports, something like that. I would love to have someone giving me a monthly.
I'll do that for you. Just call me. I'll let you know you're doing a great job, Margot. You're really killing it. Speaking of celebration, I just want to honor your big celebration.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, so I signed a contract yesterday to buy land in Red Hook, New York, where I'm going to build a house for me and my kids to live in. And it's a bit, you know, there's a lot I could say about that. And it is funny because it was also funny, like being in the lawyer's office, it was a bit anticlimactic, right? Like it was basically just signing a piece of paper, which I've done a million times in my life. Right. And it was just me, my lawyer, and the lady, you know, who watches, I forget what that's called. Yeah, I can't remember. Not even the sellers weren't even there because of COVID. And so it was just a little bit like, okay, you got it now. It's your land. And so there was always for me, there's always this kind of push and pull of like, how should I be feeling? I should be feeling really excited. But then on the other hand, there's been so many steps that I could be excited about. And there's still so much work to be done. I don't, you know, it's just a piece of land. There's no house there yet. It's all right. It's all in the future. But to come back to the idea of celebrating that, you know, that also like there doesn't need to be any pressure. There doesn't need to be any right way or wrong way to feel about something. You know, I might get more excited on the day that the bulldozer comes and starts digging into the dirt. Like that might be the day that my body feels like, oh my God, we have to celebrate, you know. Or for someone else, the signing of the paper in the lawyer's office might make them feel really excited and celebratory. And so that there's no right way or wrong way. There's no shoulds when it comes to celebrating. And we all have different reactions to things too. Like I remember I was thinking this morning about when I received my first book in the mail, my book, like the advanced copy, you know, I thought I would be really excited and I got totally freaked out. Like my whole nervous system shut down because in that moment, that was the very first moment where I realized I mean, it's going to sound silly, but where I realized, oh my God, other people are going to read this book. It was not like the whole time I was writing it, I was just one of those, I have to write this. It's, you know, it has to come out. And it wasn't, I was never did I think about who's going to read it while I was writing it through the process until that moment when it was real and it was in my hand. And then all of a sudden it was like, holy shit, other people are going to read this. And I got this wave of panic rather than celebration. And the celebration came later, but yeah. So, you know, that just a reminder that we can celebrate in our own ways, and we can be gentle with ourselves too if our celebrations and joy don't feel right or feel appropriate.
See, that's funny that you say that, because I am the one that's like forcing the celebrations on my friends. I'm like, we have to celebrate. And, you know, maybe I shouldn't do that. Like, I feel it so deeply, like, or even like, you know, that my husband, like, is not a big birthday person, but I feel like over the years, like I've like been like, no, we have to celebrate you, you know? So, and for those watching, you know, for sure, please feel free to, pop a question in, and you know, that's what we're here for, to kind of answer, or like if you disagree with any of this, by all means, like share your opinion. We could talk about it live here. And I know we have somebody in the wings that might want to join, so just, you know, for the woman in the wing, let me know if and when you want to pop on and ask your question. Yeah, so sorry, that was like a little tangent, but yeah, I mean, I was basically saying, yeah, I mean, like the forced celebration. Oh my God, I remember I worked for a company once. Oh my God, and it was like a rough environment. I can't remember exactly what was going on. You know, maybe it was just like pressure, you know, on the performance and all this stuff. And then we had like mandatory fun meetings.
Wow, that sounds really fun.
Mandatory fun.
Mandatory fun. How do you have mandatory fun?
Well, it always just sat so wrong with me. You know what I mean? It was just like, I'm not okay with that. But I digress. But, you know, that's part of the culture, right? About like, you know, how do we create organic ways to celebrate it for ourselves and our teams and our lives, you know, all that good stuff.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah. Okay.
So why would you say it's so important to celebrate and have fun?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I talk about celebration, and I think it's because, well, a couple things. Number one is I think we spend so much more time on the stuff that sucks. We spend so much more energy on wishing it didn't suck than we do on acknowledging the things that we should be proud of, and see what was put in order to get whatever happened to, in order to even just celebrate who we are, right, in that journey. Like, it doesn't have to be an outcome based to celebrate. It could be, you know, wow, today I stayed calm on a very difficult day, and that's something that I've honed, you know, to be able to do that, to stay still in the storm, you know, that kind of thing. And you know, it's part of that idea of we attract what we focus on. And so if we're only focusing on the stuff that sucks, you know, or the things we want to change, and we're not focusing on what we are doing, then it just makes me wonder, what are we attracting? You know, especially in this, you know, moment in time that we're in, where it is harder to find the celebration. You know, and I think that you know, I've talked about it on some of my platforms before, right? As a person, as a child, as a young adult, I had a lot of surgeries, you know, and I had a lot of shitty moments. You know, I was bullied. There was all this, you know, and then when I was 22, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So I just feel like I'm just so grateful for moments in my life that I can celebrate, because it's not a given. It's not a given and what if tomorrow something were to change dramatically, that I would have, I would have wanted to be able to say, you know what, but when things were going well, I gave myself permission to celebrate and acknowledge it, you know? So, and I feel like for me, celebration has been the pathway for me to stay on this path that I'm hoping works out. And it may not, I may need to get a job, if my coaching and consulting doesn't sustain me, but it's what celebrating what I have been able to accomplish has helped me to stay positive and keep the faith that there is still potential for this pathway for me.
Yeah.
And what about you? Because I know that, like, I feel like you're probably ahead of my curve on like celebrating, because you helped me on my path and celebrating myself, and for that I'm eternally grateful. And I'm curious what your journey was on being able to do that for yourself as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I can't pinpoint, there was no big aha moment that I can pinpoint in my past where all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I must celebrate. I don't have that. Maybe I'll keep digging and try to find it. But I think it was, there's this recognition that I have that life is really hard. For most of us alive, right? And I think partly, I spent a lot of time in the woo-woo world, as we call it, where there's this thread of talk and belief that, of positive thinking, the power of positive thinking. And of course, I believe in the power of positive thinking. But there's a line that some people cross of going into not acknowledging the pain and muck, like we talked about last time, not acknowledging that pain and muck exist in most people's lives often. And to me, that's always kind of been this thorn in my brain of how can I hold both of those two ideas at the same time, right? How can I acknowledge that I believe, how can I believe in the power of positive thinking and recognize that life is often unfair, that life, throws pain and suffering in our faces often? How can I do that? And what I've come to is that they go hand in hand. And so that's why we have to find those moments to celebrate. And that really we can find those moments every single moment, or maybe not every single moment, like 98% of the time, right? Because we're alive. I mean, you and I, we're alive, we're healthy. We have people that love us. We have cute furry animals that make us laugh, right? And we have good food to eat, and we have warm homes, and we have enough to celebrate just waking up in the morning, not being in pain this morning, right? Not having a debilitating illness that's killing us. There's so much I could go on and on, right?
And that's linked to gratitude, right? It's like celebration and gratitude, I feel like are partners in crime. And actually, I'm going to put up this question that we just got, which I think which really aligns with kind of what you were also saying, which is, we all fail. How do you recommend celebrating failures? And that you were talking about pain and, and I have a particular feeling about the word failure, but I'd love to hear from you first about how would you react to this?
Yeah. And I love that question too. And it's something that I've had to work through too, because I've had trouble feeling, having a fear of failure and all that. And I think the question of failure, as you said, the word itself is something that we can play with. Because what does it really mean to fail? Like, how do you define failure? So I can give a great example from my life recently. So I started this online dance club when when the lockdown started in New York State. And I had such a big vision for this dance club, because to me, it's the perfect idea. Like, we get to dance every day from the safety and comfort of our own homes. And I brought in amazing dance teachers and all this beautiful energy. And it sustained me for months. And my big vision of this becoming this global phenomenon with thousands of dancers did not materialize at all, right? So we could call that a failure, right? Like that. Did I achieve my big dream of this dance club? No. Did the dance club fail? Am I a failure because I didn't achieve that dream? I don't know, right? Does it really matter if I call myself a failure or not? I don't know. But it's how I can choose to look at it. So I can celebrate that I went for it, right? I can celebrate all of the beautiful moments that occurred over the month. I can celebrate all the people that did come and got value from it, and that it helped them over and over. Like, all of those things are real. It doesn't matter if it matters on one hand, but it also doesn't matter if I achieved the goal I set out for. If I choose to look at it in the way of like, look at what came out of it, I can celebrate all that. And I can also still look at the failure and say, what can I learn from this? What would I do the next time I have this big, shiny idea? What could I possibly do differently than I did with the dance club so that it will get closer to the goal? So there's always things to learn from our failures as well.
I love that, and what it brought up for me was this idea of, I feel like, and I think the word failure, like, it's very hard for me to think of an actual instance where I would want to use that word. Even in even in testing, even in lab testing, oh, that failed, or like because actually, like, oh, we learned like what didn't work. But I think that what happens is we talk about failure so much as it relates to the outcome, but we don't talk. But is it really about the outcome versus the journey? So I think, in response to Polly's question, it's well, then look for celebrating the journey, right? And what that was all about, maybe, versus the outcome, because I think we attach the word failure to the outcome. Because if you were to say, like, I'm celebrating that I was vulnerable and I, communicated this to my boss and I got fired. I'm making it up, but okay, it did, like, that conversation didn't turn out the way you wanted. But we can celebrate that you were vulnerable and you spoke your truth. And that's huge. That's probably even bigger, right, than the outcome kind of thing. And you posed a great question. We can celebrate, quote unquote, what we're considering failures is like, what did I learn from it? But it's also like, what I would say, before we say, how do we celebrate the failure? It's how are you like you say, how are you defining failure? And also, what is it you really want to measure? Because maybe what we really want to measure isn't the outcome, it's the journey part of it,
I love that. And I want to talk too about the idea of a failed relationship. This is something that I've thought a lot about too, and it's so common. People say, like, if your marriage ends, you had a failed marriage, or oh, I've had a string of failed marriages or failed relationships. And I had that story in my head too, when I got divorced, you know, oh, I failed as a wife. My marriage failed. And what it took for me to celebrate that failure was reframing what my expectations were. You know, now 6 years after my divorce, I can look at, and even my ex, we both can look at our relationship and recognize it's good that it ended. We're both happier in not being in that relationship anymore in that way. We're still in a relationship because we co-parent our children, and our relationship is much stronger and healthier now than it was when we were married. So does that mean we failed, right? Like how would we call that a failure? If we're all happier now, if we're all healthier now, if we're communicating better now, like how is that relationship a failure? So, and people get so attached, especially in marriages and relationships, to this idea that, and I talk about this in my book, like all relationships end, right? Because we're not immortal. So we're all gonna die. Sorry to break the news, but that is the truth. And so even the best marriage, it will end because one person will die, right? Like that idea that a couple is married and they're gonna die together, you know, holding hands at 99. How often does that really happen? Not very often. So
I love how you're taking it to this place. Like, we're all going to die, so nothing is a failure because everything is going to end.
Right, though? I mean, let's be real. Like,
it's all perspective. Yeah.
I mean, you can have the happiest marriage ever, and your spouse might die before you. And then what do? Do you call that a failure? No, you celebrate what you had together. You celebrate the beautiful moments. And, you know, and so it's just a false, you know, equation that something ending equals a failure.
Well, you know, and I think I love that. It's a false equation. Like we should definitely, we got to use that quote. Also, it makes me think of how distance gives us perspective on using this word failure. Let's talk about Stacey Abrams, right? Who, like, she didn't get the job because of all the voter fraud. Then that is the reason why she was able to do the work that she did in this election. And I go back to how do we say it? RBG. I always say RGB. I don't know why. You know, let's go to her because, right, she didn't get those high-powered lawyer jobs that she wanted after she graduated. She went into education. But that pathway allowed her to basically pave the way to the Supreme Court. So yeah, I think there's a lot of pre-questions before we talk about, well, yeah, are we really going to call this a failure or not? And probably, anyway, I know we went deep on that one, but hopefully that gives you some sense of how do we celebrate failures. You know, first of all, ask some deeper questions and look at the journey versus the outcome as ways to celebrate. And with that, we have Shige in the wings here that we can bring on, who also I think has some questions about celebration. How does that sound, Margot?
Yay! Yes.
Yay! All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, hello, Shige, and welcome.
Thank you, guys. You guys look beautiful. I love the blend, and I love the choker, Tosca.
Oh, thank you. And you as well. You look radiant this morning. I guess it's not this morning for you. Where are you calling in from?
London. Oh. Funny, because I have workout clothes to inspire me to go work out. It hasn't happened yet. But yeah.
I do that too. I put on workout clothes so that I think it'll force me to go. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, well, so Margot, thank you for that reminder that there is, I mean, honestly, you were real. There's a lot that can put us down, but where we are and what we have at this very moment is enough, and that we are enough. And you mentioned things like good health, good friends, Tosca is a good friend of mine. So I have that, like having a great job, living in your favorite city, there's things to be grateful for. But I think if I had to be completely honest with you both, I think turning 40 this year, turning 40 this month, honestly, I don't know how I'm going to react. Like, honestly, I'm emotional right now.
So what is it about turning 40? Like, what's coming up for you? What's the emotion?
I think, gosh, how many people are watching this?
Don't worry, there's not a lot. We don't have a big following yet. It's just us. It's just us three girls.
I think there's a lot of things that I wanted in my life by this time. And I think it's just like a defining year for me. It's like the big 4-0. And I think there are things I wanted to attain. And I feel like I've been making strides. I can be less abstract, like having a husband, having a family. You've had those things, Margot. I know, it didn't exactly work the way you wanted to, but now you found a healthy place. Mm-hmm. And I know, Tosca, you're happily married as well. And you guys both have, sounds like, cute animals. I think I think it's going to be I'm worried I'm going to spiral, mm-hmm. and not celebrate, but instead the party I'm going to create might be a pity party. You know what I mean? And I think I'm just reaching out to you guys to ask, how can I reframe it and not feel like this, I guess. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I first just want to acknowledge that, your courage.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, don't apologize. And you're not alone. I mean, I felt that way, and I know so many people have that, especially with 40, right? It feels like this big one. And so for you speaking out and being brave, you're helping other women, acknowledge and feel okay with the feelings. So thank you for that. Yeah, and
I don't know if there's an answer. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so was the question, tell me what your question is. Okay.
Right. You mentioned reframing. I don't want to lose sight of all the good things in my life. And I think people put so much pressure on age and societal construct in terms of what you need to have at that age. And I just need to, I don't know, I need to not believe that and be, you're good, Shige. Like, actually, this pandemic has, separated me from my family all year. And a positive about that is I don't have to hear them saying, geez, like, when are we going to see grandkids? And this will be the year. This will definitely be a very strong year for them to be concerned about that. So, sorry, my question, I guess, is how do I celebrate my birthday?
Well, so what came to me listening to you just now is that there's always room. Oh, and that's funny. I just got in in my head, the vision of Footloose. So I'll come back to that. So there's a time to celebrate, and there's a time to let yourself feel the pain that you are feeling. I don't want to, what's the word? Bypass, right? So I learned to practice when I was in coaching school, where we do celebrations and clearings and then desires. So giving yourself the space and the permission to feel all the things you're feeling. So you can, we could do it right now, or you could do it in a journal, or you could do it with Tosca later, just the two of you on the phone. But, Tosca can say to you and hold space for you to celebrate all the things you want to celebrate, right? And when you feel done, she'll say, okay, what are you clearing? And then and clearing means like, this is what I don't want to have. Like, this is what I don't want to feel. This is what don't want to notice, or like, okay, I clear my family's expectations. I clear my family's voices in my head saying, when are we going to get grandkids? I clear my fear that I'm never going to have kids. I clear.
That's a big one.
Yeah, like you can let it all out, speak it all. And, you know, and Tosca and I talk a lot about the power of talking and just acknowledging.
Releasing and letting it.
Yeah,
I think we should do it. I think we should do it now. I think we should do a mini session, a mini clearing. What do you call it? Because there's different words. What did you call this?
So we call it clearing, celebration, and then desires.
Okay.
So the idea is you give it, right? You celebrate whatever, and you don't have to try. Like, you don't have to be like, I should celebrate, blah blah blah. No.
Yeah.
It's what naturally you feel celebratory about. Anything you want to clear, and then what you desire, what you want to bring into your life. So you're giving space and energy to that too.
So you don't clear first and then celebrate. You do the other way? No, okay.
I mean, you can do it how you want, what feels right.
Yeah.
If you want to clear first, go ahead, clear first.
Do you want to do this exercise again on the spot? Do you want to do a little bit?
I don't want to take up too much of. Well, if I was, you tell me. So yes. Let's do it.
Perfect. Let's do it then. What do you want to start with?
Clearing. Get the junk out. Take the junk out. What do I want to? And then is there a certain saying I'm supposed to, a template, or just
say I clear or I let go of, whatever feels, you know, authentic to you. Or I say goodbye to, anything.
Ooh, I see. Woo! I might cry more. Okay.
Yes, let it out. Let it out.
Okay. I clear. I'm saying goodbye. Well, I don't see, but the thing is, guys, I don't think it will just be gone like that.
No, it won't be gone like that. But you're acknowledging that you don't want it anymore. That's what you're doing. Yeah, it's not magic, right? It's not. Oh,
no, it is a little bit of magic, because I think that it won't be gone, right? But I think my prediction would be at the end of it, you might feel just a smidge lighter because you released some stuff. You won't release it all. You won't be healed in like 5 seconds, but it will feel lighter because you are allowing all these things to come to the surface and be externalized. Because right now it's all inside.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying goodbye to guilt for living in a country that is not the same as where my parents live, my aging parents. I'm saying goodbye to that guilt of leaving. I'm saying goodbye to. Thanks, Paulina. To the worry that I won't have kids. Yes, I say goodbye to feeling alone. And yes, that's it. Actually, it's just that, really. I want to celebrate. I celebrate that I'm turning 40 this year, and I don't look 40. I am turning 40. I want to celebrate that I have family and friends that love me. That I live in my most favorite city in the world. I live in London. I'm healthy. My parents are healthy. Yeah, that feels good. I have a job that I enjoy. Not every day, but most days. I have my own place. And I'm able to teach yoga to friends. I enjoy that. Yeah, I celebrate the inner work I'm doing. Desire. Is that the next one? What do I desire?
Just do one thing. Close your eyes for a second and just feel into, is there anything else to celebrate or clear before we move on to desire?
Good health, family, friends. I mean, Tosca, you know how much I love you. I've traveled. Hopefully I get to travel again some more. I want to celebrate that. What am I celebrating? That's it, I think, Margot.
Okay, good. Okay, now keep your eyes closed. What do you desire? And it can be anything from like,
you already know,
beautiful bright pink dress to the man of my dreams or woman of my dreams, whatever. Anything big, small, in between. What do you desire?
I desire a home, not just like a flat or a house. I desire a home. I desire maintaining that good health. I do desire experiencing love. I do desire on my next birthday, the man that I love walking out with the cake. And I desire to have a family, and that could look very different than what I thought. It could be adoption, or I don't know, sperm donor. But I desire a family.
And so it shall be, and so much more.
And what do you desire for this birthday? When is your birthday?
The 23rd.
23rd. Okay, so how do you want to celebrate on November 23rd? Or how do you want that day to go?
Well, everything I was planning on traveling and all that, but that's not, happening now. And that's okay, because that's all superficial, right? Like maybe I'm just running away from it. Maybe this is good for me. I just, this year, I want to do some meditation. I want to do all the things I love. Like be in nature, inhale. Oh yes, I don't need to leave the country to find trees.
I would hope not. I hope London has trees in the UK.
Do you have a favorite nature spot in London?
Yeah, and the trains are still working, so I could go somewhere nearby. Some meditation, some yoga. I do want to dance.
Dance party coming up. See, it would be totally international, Margot. See, we can fulfill your desires and Margot's desires all the same day.
Yay!
And you know what's interesting? Last year on my birthday, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't know very many people here. And one of the yogis found out on Facebook that it was my birthday, because, it shows up. And so he told the other people in the studio. And so then after class, they had me sit in the center, and then they got into a circle around me, and then they extended their hand towards me, and they did a mantra. And if you think I'm ugly crying now, I was just, and I didn't think I even needed it. I thought, okay, I'm 39. I don't need a big birthday bash or whatever. But there was something so magical about that. And then the teacher had said to me, she goes, why didn't you tell me one? And I said, well, I mean, why would I? I mean, everyone has their own kind of stuff. And she's like, you do realize that people get joy by giving out joy, by providing that joy to others. And I just thought, I've only been been around for a year at that point, and I didn't really, know, I didn't want to put people in that awkward position of having to do something. And then when I walked out of that studio, in the locker room, they had vegan cake, gluten-free cake, like no sugar, all this healthy stuff. And then I cried again, and I don't know what came over me, but it was just, I say I desire love, and I guess love can come in different ways. So on my birthday, just let me showered with love.
Yay!
Oh, thanks, guys.
So maybe this year you could tell people ahead of time,
Yeah.
I want to be showered with love.
Yes.
I did that last year on my birthday. My birthday's in May, so it was 2 months into the pandemic, and I had a virtual dance party, which was really fun, right, Tosca?
It was awesome. It was good music. It was great.
A lot of people came and they said, "Oh, I didn't think a Zoom dance party would be fun, but it was fun." So I highly recommend that. And I also asked people, I said, I want to receive notes in the mail. That's what makes me feel loved. And I got the most beautiful cards, and yeah, as you said, as your yoga teacher said, people want to feel good, and people want reasons to celebrate, especially now. And you're giving them a gift by saying, hey, I'm turning 40. Can you celebrate me in this way? People, and not everybody, right? Some people will be busy with their lives or whatever's going on, and that's okay. You're not putting pressure or expectations on people. But the ones who want to celebrate will celebrate, and they'll be happy, and you get to be showered with love, which is you definitely deserve.
Yeah, and I listened to Priya Parker's, The Art of Gathering. I love that book, and she has this podcast with Together Apart with New York Times, and she talks about how do we make meaning out of gathering, and this whole podcast started actually in the very beginning of COVID, and she talks about birthday gatherings, and she had some great suggestions. Some of it was and actually, I think one of our mutual friends did this for her birthday, which was having people send them a song that makes them think of you.
Oh, I like
and
that.
Then you have a whole playlist of people sharing songs that make them think of you, or what however you want to curate that,
Yeah.
And even in the virtual environment of creating ritual and creating space, right? To do, maybe it's a group meditation, or like you said, or maybe it is everybody shares a story about you, or whatever would make you feel showered with love. to plan that, and even ask a friend to, like, hey, put this together for me. I'll give you all my emails, because like Margot says, I think that, that people want to do things for you because they love you. We have to give them the opportunity. We have to say, when we can say, this is what I need, this is what I want. It shows you're honoring yourself, and also it's giving that person the perfect instruction booklet to, like, be able to do what is most meaningful, and and personally, as your friend, like, yeah, like, let me know, because I'm over here wrecking my brain. Like, what am I'm in, like, New York, and she's in London. I don't know what to do, and, like, like, so, but yeah, I think that it's a gift to yourself, and it's a gift to others to know, like, oh, I want to do this for you, and I want the chance. And sometimes I think that we don't realize that it's actually in service of those who want to honor us as well. It goes both ways.
Mm.
Yeah. Wow, you got a big long list. Like, you gotta have a busy birthday. We tell you talked about being in nature and meditating and doing yoga and a dance party and having some mantras. You get showered with love. It's gonna have to wake up early to get all that in there.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, the last thing would be to give yourself space during the day to feel the fears or the worries too. If that comes up, that's normal. You don't have to try to push those aside, and feel like, oh, I should be happy all day. Like, we all feel like that, right? I mean, how often do we all cry on our birthdays? I don't know. I feel like most people cry on their birthdays.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's a great, I think that is, like, a huge thing that I think people need to realize, that, like, we all cry on our birthdays. It's like a big aha moment for me, because I feel like I cry on my birthday, like, every freaking year.
Yeah.
And I want to post this is quick comment from Polly too, that she shared, that she wanted to say goodbye to negative thinking. It was hard to stay positive, Polly, and at the end of the year, finally ready to let go of everything that was negative and go back to my positive self. And I think that what we're talking about here too is honoring, right, those times and those parts of us that are struggling, that maybe don't have a positive thought. And that's okay too, that we don't have to shame that part of ourselves and, like, or be hard on ourselves because we had a hard time this year finding the light. That's been very hard. So, I mean, I say this, because I think we all like to say, hey, let's get rid of, like, our negative part of ourselves, but also it's really, I think the phrase that comes up for me in seeing that is how can you quiet those voices that are not serving you, as something that, because you're going to have some days where that positive Polly isn't able to show up because it's a tough day, like, so part of it, I think, is also setting ourselves up for, what's human nature and how we are. But I mean, in this circle, I definitely send lots of positive vibes to positive Polly, and, helping to, release and let go of that which does not serve you, those negative thoughts that do not serve you, for sure.
Yeah, and I would add to that, you said, how do we quiet those negative thoughts? I find it really helpful to think of all of the parts of ourselves that, as young children, because right, a lot of that negative stuff or the fear voices, they developed when we were young kids. People in positions of authority, or people, our family, our parents told us things, imprinted certain things on us, and so we can quiet them by loving them, just like we would a scared little girl, right? We don't quiet little scared kids by yelling at them or saying like, go outside, be by yourself, right? Like that's not what we would do to a young child. So why would we do that to those little inner voices, right?
Mhm.
And there's like this way people talk about inner critical voices of like banish them and get rid of them, and that doesn't usually work, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe for some people that never worked for me, but reframing that and trying to love them and kind of comfort them, they do actually quiet down, and then it's easier to move forward, you know, without them being as loud.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I'm glad we got to talk about that, because I think it's, yeah, there's this balance between how do we honor what we're feeling, right? And also how do we see where reframes will serve us, right? Because we talked about both today, Margot. You were like, oh, let's also honor those feelings that are really uncomfortable because they're real and they're true and they're not just going to disappear, and maybe there's some thoughts in our head that need reframing. And so where can we evaluate where that makes sense? It's not about bypassing, right? That spiritual bypass that like, I'm just going to like forget that I'm miserable right now and just be happy. Yeah. Good luck with that. You know, like good luck with that. But yeah, it's so good. Shige, I like just really just honor your courage, your vulnerability, your willingness to experiment here and show people what it looks like to share your truth in, you know, in honor of wanting to get to the other side of what you're experiencing. So thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys creating the space for me to do that. I was just trying to walk in and just ask a question and walk away. But I don't know. There's like this like magical vortex, you guys. Maybe if I don't look directly in the eyes.
Well, you were right. You were ready. Yeah, you're ready. Like I'm celebrating that you were ready to not go down that spiral, right? That you were honoring, like, I don't want that for myself. And I don't know how to prevent it, but maybe like, here's a space that I can get some tools, you know, and that's huge to have the awareness of this thing that might happen that you want to like, you know, not let explode. What awareness, like if we could all only kind of know what our patterns are and be like, oh shit, this fucking Mack truck is coming, and like, how do I like, you know, that's the beauty of you talking about doing your inner work and celebrating that. And that is exactly why I think you're able to be in this moment with it, because you're willing to see what might happen, and you're willing to say, I want to get what I need so I can create something else for myself that I'm more excited about.
Thanks. Well, I'm lucky to have a support network to allow me to do that. So thank you guys.
Yay. Well, thanks again. And
we're
showering with love. Yes.
I feel it. All right. Thank you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, Shige. We'll pop you off here and close up. Talk soon. Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. Wow.
Well, good stuff.
Good stuff.
I want to be invited to the dance party.
Yes, me too. Me too. Let's we get on that invite list. There's probably a few other people that might get on it. So we covered a lot of ground today, I think, on how celebrations can be a pathway to going after our biggest dreams. And hopefully, as we go into the weekend, our audience here will experiment and put some things into practice and maybe celebrate some things that that are just dying to be celebrated. Yeah. Any final thoughts before we close out?
Well, let's close with 2 celebrations each. Okay.
Ooh,
so I am celebrating right in this moment this space that you and I have created, and these conversations that we're having, and the wonderful women that have joined us. It makes me feel really good going into the weekend. It feels like a nice kind of coming together and processing of what's happened through the week. So that feels really good, and I'm celebrating that. And I'm celebrating that I'm going to go hiking this weekend on the Appalachian Trail again, which I did last weekend, and makes me really happy. It makes me feel really good.
Oh, yes. I know Shige loves hiking too. That's like her. She's a mountain climber.
Oh, wow.
She's done the base camp at Nepal and just all kinds of, she's like, anyway, I digress. I love those celebrations. And thank you. And I'm honored as well and am celebrating like what we've created here, and doing this together, and showing people. I'm celebrating that we're showing people what it looks like to hold space for somebody, what it looks like to experience coaching, to be with coaches, because I think there is a lot of mystery out there. So I'm just celebrating that Shige was brave enough to allow us to be in the journey with her in this environment. That's a lot of courage and a lot of bravery. So I'm just celebrating that in her and us, and also doing it in this environment. It's just different, right? It's a different experience. And I'm also celebrating. I want to celebrate that I had a podcast interview come out yesterday. And the podcast is called Bad Women, and it's a new one, and it's hosted by Brittany Brave, who is a comedian, actress, host extraordinaire. And I'm celebrating it because I'm joyful that somebody would feel compelled that they want to hear my voice on their platform and spread the word that that I want to share and that they want to talk about with me. So it feels good. Yeah. Yay. Yay for all of us. And for those of you watching afterwards, let us know what you want to celebrate, and we'll celebrate with you.
Awesome.
And with that, thanks for joining Seeking Utopia, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully Friday the 20th. Ciao for now.